Building on the shadows of early Hollywood's dazzling facade, we uncover the story that shattered the industry's image forever. In a time when fame was fragile and reputation was everything, one incident emerged as the first major scandal to grip Hollywood and the nation. A hidden world of glamour and secrets unraveled when a tragic event took place in room 1219 of the St. Francis Hotel. Aspiring actress Virginia Raif's sudden death ignited a media frenzy, pointing fingers at the popular comedian Fatty Arbuckle, who suddenly found himself at the center of a maelstrom of accusations, rumors, and moral panic. The ensuing trial turned into a spectacle, with headlines sensationalizing every detail, fueling public outrage and moral outrage. The case exposed the dark side of Hollywood, power struggles, exploitation, and the fragility of reputation that could vanish overnight. As the trial unfolded, it sparked debates about morality, justice, and the corrupting influence of fame that continue to resonate today. This story not only marks the beginning of Hollywood's tabloid scandals, but also highlights how scandal can reshape careers and public perception in ways impossible to predict. Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle's rise to fame was a remarkable story that reflected both talent and groundbreaking achievement in early American cinema. He was not just a familiar face on silent film marquees, but a key figure who helped shape the comedy genre during its formative years. From the beginning, Arbuckle displayed a natural talent for slapstick humor and impeccable timing, which made his comedic performances both memorable and influential. As silent films gained popularity, his popularity soared, and he became one of the biggest stars of his time. His charisma and physical comedy made him a favorite among audiences, and helped him become the first actor in history to secure a contract worth $1 million, a huge milestone in an era when Hollywood was still young. More than just an entertainer, Arbuckle played a crucial role in nurturing other comic talents, helping launch the careers of icons like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, who would go on to define comedy for generations. At the peak of his career, Arbuckle was not only acting but also directing and producing, which gave him a significant role behind the scenes and contributed to the success of some of the most popular silent films. His rise was marked by an extraordinary ability to connect with viewers and bring joy through his humor, creating a legacy that was even more impressive given the relatively short time he spent at the top. However, despite his success on screen and in the industry, his life was soon overshadowed by a scandal that shook his reputation and had lasting effects on his career and personal life. Yet, his influence on comedy and film history remains a testament to his talent and importance in early American cinema. Born in 1887 in Smith Center, Kansas, Roscoe Arbuckle entered the world under tragic circumstances. He weighed more than 13 pounds at birth, an event that greatly affected his mother's health and led to her eventual death. His birth was a difficult moment for her, and the loss of his mother left him to face a challenging childhood. His father, overwhelmed by grief and suspicious that Roscoe might not be his biological son, grew distant and eventually abandoned the family altogether. These early days were filled with hardship, and Roscoe had to learn how to rely on himself at a very young age. Growing up without his parents around, he experienced emotional pain and struggled to find stability. Yet, even amid these difficulties, Roscoe discovered a unique talent for singing, dancing, and making people laugh. These talents became a way for him to escape poverty and neglect, giving him hope and purpose. The struggles of his childhood shaped his resilience and sparked his creativity, qualities that would later help him revolutionize comedy in the world of early film. These early hardships did not stop him from dreaming big or from developing a sense of humor that would become his signature. Through perseverance and natural talent, he started to find his place in the entertainment world, turning his pain into laughter for others. Despite facing constant prejudices and mocking remarks about his size, Roscoe Arbuckle refused to give up. Many underestimated him because of his appearance, but his perseverance and natural charisma allowed him to shine through the criticism. He started out performing in local talent shows and vaudeville acts, where he quickly caught the attention of audiences with his quick movements and surprising grace. His ability to make people laugh with physical comedy and genuine warmth made him stand out. When he moved into film, he joined Mack Sennett's Keystone Studios, famous for its chaotic comedy style. At first, he was part of the Keystone Cops, a group known for slapstick chaos, but Arbuckle's talent soon took him beyond that. His skills in blending physical humor with heartfelt emotion made him a star, and eventually a leading actor. Arbuckle didn't just act, he also directed and helped train other performers, showing a deep understanding of how movies told stories. His creative work helped shape silent film comedy, influencing many in the industry. His performances and innovations made him one of the most vital figures of the silent era, until one incident that changed everything and abruptly ended his rising career. Immediately following the Labor Day weekend in 1921, news of the incident at the St. Francis Hotel rapidly spread across the country, captivating the public's attention and sparking heated debates. Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle, known for his comedic talent and charming personality, suddenly found himself accused of a heinous crime that seemed hard to believe given his reputation. The details of what transpired in room 1219 became a source of speculation, with conflicting reports and sensational stories fueling the media frenzy. Many believed that Arbuckle's fame would shield him, but the accusations led to a legal battle that captivated everyone. The case went through several trials, with prosecutors claiming Arbuckle had sexually assaulted Virginia Rappe, who had fallen seriously ill after their time together. Despite his innocence, the court of public opinion was not kind, and Arbuckle's career suffered a devastating blow. The scandal also rocked Hollywood, forcing studios and actors to consider the power of the press and the importance of morality in show business. Throughout the ordeal, Arbuckle maintained his innocence, and his supporters believed that he was falsely accused. But the damage was done. The incident permanently marked the era, changing how Hollywood handled scandals and public scrutiny. The story of that fateful party remains a stark reminder of how quickly fame can turn into tragedy, and how uncertain the boundaries of privacy and morality can become amidst the glare of the spotlight. Immediately after Virginia Rappe's death on September 9, 1921, a wave of accusations quickly spread, bringing intense scrutiny to Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle. Witnesses reported that Arbuckle had forcibly taken Rappe into a room and locked the door behind her. Witnesses also claimed to hear loud noises and sounds of distress coming from inside the room. When authorities arrived, Rappe was discovered lying on the floor, clutching her abdomen, appearing to be in great pain. She was rushed to the hospital, but despite medical efforts, she died 4 days later from complications caused by a ruptured bladder and peritonitis, which was believed to be related to the injuries she sustained. Under mounting public pressure, and in the climate of moral outrage sweeping across America, law enforcement quickly moved to arrest Arbuckle. They charged him with manslaughter, and the case grabbed national headlines. The media, eager to sensationalize, portrayed Arbuckle as a symbol of the corrupt and decadent Hollywood lifestyle. The general public responded with outrage, condemning him without waiting for conclusive evidence. Newspapers depicted him as an image of excess, violence, and moral decay. Even though the evidence was ambiguous, and many details remained unclear, the court of public opinion had already convicted Arbuckle in the court of popular judgment. The case sparked widespread debate about the nature of celebrity accountability, morality in entertainment, and the tarnished reputation of Hollywood during that era. Immediately as the trial started, the media frenzy took hold, turning Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle's case into much more than a legal matter, transforming it into a spectacle that threatened the reputation of the entire film industry. Every detail, fact or fiction, was blown out of proportion and broadcast worldwide, feeding the public's hunger for scandal and scandalous stories. Headline after headline appeared, filled with innuendo and guesses, making Arbuckle appear guilty even before the evidence was examined. The scandal painted him as a symbol of Hollywood's supposed moral decline, dragging his name through the mud. A crucial figure in the case was Mistress Maud Delmont, who was a friend of Virginia Rappe, the woman involved in the incident. She was the first to accuse Arbuckle of assaulting Rappe and claimed to have witnessed the event. Yet, her testimony was soon challenged when her background came into view, revealing a history filled with blackmail and fraud. Interestingly, she was never actually called to testify in the trial, yet her accusations started rumors that persisted. Other witnesses who took the stand offered conflicting stories or appeared to be unreliable, which only added to the chaos inside the courtroom. Despite the inconsistent and often dubious witness accounts, the damage to Arbuckle's reputation was already made. The media's sensational stories overshadowed the truth and turned the case into a confusing, scandal-ridden spectacle that lingered in the public consciousness long after the court proceedings. After enduring a lengthy and intense legal process, Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle's ordeal culminated in his acquittal, but the damage to his reputation persisted long after the court's decision. The 3 trials, which spanned from November 1921 to April 1922, were marked by difficulty and drama. The first 2 ended with hung juries because the prosecution focused heavily on circumstantial evidence and emotional appeals rather than clear, direct proof. This approach made the outcome uncertain and kept the case in the public eye. When the third trial finally brought resolution, the defense managed to dismantle many of the prosecution's claims by exposing inconsistencies and questioning the credibility of witnesses. The jury, after carefully considering all the evidence, acquitted Arbuckle on April 12, 1922. In an extraordinary gesture, the jury also issued a formal statement of apology, emphasizing that Arbuckle was innocent and that a grave injustice had been inflicted on him. Yet, despite this legal victory, the court of public opinion had already sentenced him. Hollywood industry insiders, worried about backlash from moral crusaders and audiences, responded by blacklisting Arbuckle. His films were pulled from theaters, and he lost all his contracts. The damage was not just professional but deeply personal, as years of his career and reputation were effectively destroyed. Even after his acquittal, Arbuckle remained uninvited to work in Hollywood, leading to a painful exile from the very industry that had celebrated him as a comedy star. His reputation was forever stained in the public eye, overshadowing his talent and achievements, and turning his life into a story of a man ruined more by misconception and fear than by guilt or wrongdoing. After her childhood was marred by the loss of her mother when she was only 11 years old, Virginia Rape was raised in a household that was often fractured and unstable. Despite these hardships, she did not succumb to despair. Instead, she turned to modeling as a way to find her footing and express herself. By the time she reached her early teens, around 14, she had built a reputation for her beauty and grace in the fashion world, drawing attention for her sophistication and charm. Her natural talent and ambitions pushed her toward acting, and she quickly found opportunities to work with major film studios as she transitioned into the cinema industry. She appeared in several movies, with one of her notable roles in Paradise Garden, where she shared the screen with Harold Lockwood. People who knew Virginia described her as kind-hearted, ambitious, and relentless in her desire to succeed, especially in an industry largely controlled by men, which made her stand out even more. Just as her career was gaining momentum, her life was tragically cut short under mysterious circumstances that have been debated ever since. Her death was surrounded by sensational headlines that focused more on scandal and hearsay than on her remarkable life story. Because of this, much of her true story was overshadowed by gossip, and her personal qualities sometimes get lost in the shadows of her tragic end. Nevertheless, Virginia Rappe was more than just a headline or a victim. She was a woman who fought hard to succeed against odds, and should be remembered for her resilience and talent. Initially, the story of what happened in Room 1219 was full of contradictions, speculation, and sensationalism, making it hard to know what really took place. Early reports accused Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle of assaulting Virginia Rappe, claiming he used a piece of ice to harm her. Other stories suggested different objects, such as a broken bottle or a foreign object, were involved in the incident. These accounts were often based on hearsay, and quickly spread through newspapers eager for sensational headlines. As the story gained attention, rumors became more lurid, exaggerating the events and fueling public outrage. However, as the legal case moved forward, none of these shocking claims could be proven in court. Multiple autopsies and medical experts examined Rappe and found no signs of external injury or forced entry, contradicting the earlier sensational allegations. Additionally, some rumors claimed that Rappe's internal injuries resulted from failed abortions, a story heavily circulated by tabloids. Medical examinations and reports proved these rumors to be false, and there was no evidence supporting such claims. Despite this, the confusion created by inconsistent reports and the media's eager involvement kept the true details hidden. The conflicting accounts and speculative nature of the coverage made it difficult to separate fact from fiction, leaving the incident shrouded in layers of distortion that complicated understanding of what truly happened that night. Despite the intense media frenzy and public opinion, Arbuckle's defense team focused on scientific evidence and medical testimony during the trials. They aimed to show that Virginia Rappe's injuries were not caused by Arbuckle or any violent act, but by existing health issues. They revealed that Rappe had a long-standing chronic bladder condition, which could have been made worse by her heavy drinking at the party. Multiple doctors, including those who examined her at the hospital, testified that her ruptured bladder was not consistent with assault or violence. The defense also brought in expert witnesses to question the timeline of her illness. They argued that her symptoms of peritonitis might have started before Arbuckle arrived, which would mean her death was not directly related to him. Furthermore, they pointed out the lack of evidence of physical trauma or bruising that would be expected if sexual violence had occurred. This careful, scientific approach highlighted inconsistencies in the prosecution's emotional arguments. Although the jury ultimately believed Arbuckle's innocence and found him not guilty in the final trial, the public's opinion was already shaped by a damaging narrative of guilt, making it harder for the defense's facts to fully change the widespread perception. Following the legal exoneration of Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, the storm of public perception and cultural outrage did not simply fade away. Even after the courts cleared him entirely of any charges, the damage to his reputation persisted. To many people, he had already been judged guilty, not necessarily of any crime, but of embodying the worst traits associated with Hollywood life. The media coverage played a big role in shaping this view. Headlines and stories painted him as a hedonistic and wild figure, emphasizing his large size and fame to make him a target for ridicule and condemnation. Not only that, but numerous moral groups, including church organizations, women's groups, and reformers, used his case as a symbol of Hollywood's supposed moral decline. They argued that the film industry was corrupting American values and leading people astray. Although the court's decision declared him innocent, society's judgment proved to be much harsher. Arbuckle was transformed into a symbol of scandal and moral decay, a reminder to many of the dangers associated with show business. His name, which once meant laughter and success, was now spoken with discomfort or avoided altogether. Despite his legal victory, the cultural fallout cast a long shadow, making it clear how fragile and fleeting reputation can be once it is marred by scandal and public opinion. Immediately after the scandal involving Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle and Virginia Rappe erupted, the nation was forced to confront difficult questions about morality and the influence of Hollywood. The case went beyond a personal tragedy. It became a symbol of the shifting social landscape and raised questions about gender roles and the power dynamics between men and women. Many people viewed the scandal as a reflection of broader issues in society, especially how men in positions of fame and authority often evaded accountability. Women's rights groups seized the moment to push for change, organizing protests outside courtrooms and studio lots, demanding stricter standards and greater scrutiny of male celebrities' conduct. These protests represented one of the first times organized resistance challenged what many saw as the normalization of sexual misconduct in Hollywood and beyond. The scandal also highlighted the tension between personal freedom and public responsibility, revealing how fame complicated issues of privacy and truth. It became a cultural turning point that made the public think more critically about the movies they watched and the implications of celebrity power. The Arbuckle case was not just about one man's involvement, but about a society grappling with the meaning of morality in a rapidly changing America, where film was no longer just entertainment, but a mirror reflecting urgent social concerns. The wider response showed that the scandal touched on fundamental questions about justice, gender equality, and the role of media in shaping public perceptions. This moment marked a shift in how society viewed celebrities and what was acceptable behavior, setting the stage for ongoing debates about ethics and accountability in the years that followed. After the legal battles that eventually cleared his name, Arbuckle faced a harsh reality in Hollywood because the damage was done. The studios had already made up their minds, fearing the backlash from audiences and religious groups who had grown outraged by the scandal. Their fear was so strong that they refused to give him any more screen roles, essentially shutting him out from the bright lights and applause he once enjoyed. Despite the injustice, Arbuckle was determined to keep making comedy, his true passion. He found a way to stay involved in the industry by working behind the scenes under a false name. He adopted the pseudonym William B. Goodrich, a name that's a little ironic because it sounds like Will Be Good, yet served as his shield from the prying eyes of Hollywood's upper circles. Under this alias, he directed comedy shorts for Warner Brothers, using his talent to create laughs without the spotlight. Occasionally, he stepped onto stages for small appearances, trying to reconnect with the fans who once cheered him. Still, the shadow of heavy scandal stretched over him, making it impossible for him to reclaim the fame he lost. Over the years, Arbuckle's work remained quiet and mostly unnoticed outside industry circles. He held on to a faint hope that someday he could return to the stage, not as a shadow or a forgotten figure, but as the comedic star he was born to be. Sadly, that dream stayed just out of reach, lingering as a painful reminder of the rise and fall of a comic genius. Despite the shadow of scandal and years of silence, Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle's story took a surprising turn, thanks to the loyalty of friends who believed in his talent and human worth. Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, two of the most famous silent film stars, had been mentored by Arbuckle in the early days of Hollywood. Even when Arbuckle faced opposition, these two never stopped defending him. They publicly supported his talent and argued that he was unfairly judged. Their continued advocacy helped soften some of Hollywood's harsh attitudes, and people slowly began to reconsider Arbuckle. In the early 1930s, Arbuckle was able to slowly re-enter the film industry. At first, he worked behind the scenes using the name William B. Goodrich, directing movies and staying out of the spotlight. Over time, Warner Brothers offered him a chance to perform again. This marked a turning point. Arbuckle started acting in short comedy films that showcased his original charm, humor, and physical talent. Audiences who remembered his earlier work were happy to see him back, and even those new to his talents appreciated the warmth and joy in his performances. Critics and fans watched cautiously, but their responses were mostly positive, signaling hope that Arbuckle might reclaim his place in Hollywood. After years frozen out by scandal, Arbuckle's dream of again being loved as a comedian seemed more real than before, driven by the power of friendship, forgiveness, and renewed belief in him. Despite the public turmoil surrounding Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle's career, his personal life was a tapestry of heartbreak, resilience, and moments of solace. His first marriage, to actress Minta Durfee, began amid the rising fame of his early film days, and was filled with hope and promise. They shared a life that seemed full of potential, but the pressures of fame, combined with the devastating legal turmoil that plagued Arbuckle, eventually put a strain on their relationship. The controversy cast a long shadow, leading to their separation and ultimately divorce, leaving Arbuckle to face the fallout mostly alone. His second marriage, to actress Doris Dean, also ended in separation. Accusations of neglect and emotional distance clouded memories of that union, though some argue that the extent of these claims is debated and perhaps misunderstood. These relationships were deeply affected by the scandal that engulfed Arbuckle, taking an emotional toll and shaping his life in profound ways. It was not until his third marriage, to actress Addie McPhail, that he seemed to find a moment of stability. Addie stood by him through his efforts to rebuild his career, providing emotional support and companionship, qualities he had long been missing. Friends observed that she brought a calming presence into his life, offering a sense of peace that was rare for him to experience. Their bond gave Arbuckle a brief taste of happiness and security before life's unpredictable twists would challenge that fragile sense of peace once again. After years of being cast aside by the film industry and facing harsh public judgment, Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle's final days seemed to hold the promise of a bright future. Just when it appeared that his reputation could be restored, and that his career might be reborn, everything was suddenly cut short. On June 28, 1933, only hours after he celebrated signing a new deal to star in several films, Arbuckle's life ended unexpectedly. That night, he was in good spirits, feeling elated and full of hope. Friends and his wife remembered him as being in a euphoric mood, telling everyone that this was the best day of his life. Yet, that same night, he passed away peacefully in his sleep from a heart attack. It was shocking to those who knew him, as well as to the film community, which had just begun to reconsider how they viewed him. He was only 46 years old, with a future that seemed promising just moments before his death. His sudden passing created a deep sense of tragedy and irony because his final day was filled with the hope of redemption. Although he never got to see his comeback become a reality, the joy he felt that night shows how much he still believed in himself and his ability to overcome past hardships. Arbuckle's story ends with a reminder of resilience and the hopeful moments that can shine through even in times of great difficulty. Furthermore, Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle's story continues to serve as a significant example of how fame can be fragile and how media influence can shape public opinion dramatically. His case demonstrated that a celebrity's reputation can be shattered by rumors, even when legal proceedings do not conclusively prove guilty. This incident helped to highlight the power that newspapers and sensational journalism held over public perception, often swaying opinions before all facts were known. The fallout from his scandal motivated Hollywood to introduce stricter moral standards to protect its image, leading to the creation of the Motion Picture Production Code. This code aimed to censor content and foster a more respectable industry image, influencing filmmaking and acting for decades. Despite the controversy, Arbuckle's life and career left lasting lessons about the dangerous side of fame, the importance of fair judgment, and the human consequences of public disgrace. His story is a reminder that the line between admiration and vilification is thin and can be crossed easily. Over time, some view him as a victim of a media rush and a moral panic, while others see him as a cautionary tale about the volatile relationship between Hollywood stars and the public eye. His legacy prompts ongoing discussions about justice, reputation, and how society treats its celebrities, especially during times of scandal and upheaval. These ideas continue to influence how we perceive fame and morality in modern entertainment, making his story an enduring chapter in Hollywood history. Building on the shadows of early Hollywood's dazzling facade, we uncover the story that shattered the industry's image forever. In a time when fame was fragile and reputation was everything, one incident emerged as the first major scandal to grip Hollywood and the nation. A hidden world of glamour and secrets unraveled when a tragic event took place in room 1219 of the St. Francis Hotel. Aspiring actress Virginia Rape's sudden death ignited a media frenzy, pointing fingers at the popular comedian Fatty Arbuckle, who suddenly found himself at the center of a maelstrom of accusations, rumors, and moral panic. The ensuing trial turned into a spectacle, with headlines sensationalizing every detail, fueling public outrage and moral outrage. The case exposed the dark side of Hollywood, power struggles, exploitation, and the fragility of reputation that could vanish overnight. As the trial unfolded, it sparked debates about morality, justice, and the corrupting influence of fame that continue to resonate today. This story not only marks the beginning of Hollywood's tabloid scandals, but also highlights how scandal can reshape careers and public perception in ways impossible to predict. The fallout from this event changed Hollywood's landscape, prompting reforms and influencing future standards of behavior in the entertainment industry. It revealed that behind the glamour, Hollywood's glittering veneer often masked a dangerous underworld, where scandals could destroy lives and careers instantly. This incident remains a powerful reminder that fame can be both a blessing and a curse, especially when secrets come to light in the bright spotlight of the public eye. As we wrap up the fascinating story of Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle's rise and fall, there's a delightful bonus segment that takes us back to one of his most memorable moments on screen. Get ready to dive into the 1917 short film Coney Island, a vintage gem that showcases Arbuckle at his comedic best. In this lively short, Arbuckle's slapstick genius shines through as he navigates the bustling, chaotic world of Coney Island with boundless energy and humor that still feels fresh today. What makes this film particularly captivating is Arbuckle's inventive physical comedy, his quick wit, and the vibrant, almost carnival-like atmosphere that transports viewers to a bygone era. This bonus piece offers a perfect snapshot of his comedic timing and charisma, making it a must-watch for fans and newcomers alike. Stay tuned. You're about to discover why Coney Island remains a beloved piece of early silent film history. The array of reviews surrounding the film Coney Island reveals a mix of perceptions, blending nostalgic appreciation with criticisms of its comedic and narrative structure. On one hand, viewers acknowledge that the film offers a charming and valuable visual record of Luna Park during a bygone era, capturing the amusement park's rides, architecture, and lively atmosphere with a vividness that preserves its historical significance. This aspect alone elevates the film beyond mere entertainment, serving as a window into a nostalgic world which many find compelling and worth experiencing even today. However, when it comes to the film's comedic elements, opinions diverge. Some viewers feel that Coney Island falls short in delivering consistent humor. The jokes tend to be viewed as quite ordinary and predictable, with Fatty Arbuckle's comedic style perceived as somewhat simplistic and one-note, especially compared to the varied talents of Charles Chaplin or Buster Keaton. Specifically, Arbuckle's penchant for recurring plot devices, such as attempting to evade his wife or trying to win over a girl through humorous disguises, like dressing up as a woman, are seen by some as amusing, but ultimately repetitive. The scenes where Arbuckle's character tries to navigate romantic competition or their humorous escape antics mostly generate mild amusement, with some reviewers noting that most laughs stem from Buster Keaton's appearances rather than Arbuckle himself. The film's narrative structure is often described as lacking a clear plot, bordering on a series of disjointed vignettes and visual gags rather than a cohesive story. For example, some critics describe the plot as almost non-existent, with certain sequences feeling more like collection of funny moments or scenic snapshots rather than part of a singular storyline. This approach may render the film somewhat episodic, with certain scenes, such as the boat scene or the fun at Luna Park, standing out as highlights, but the overall experience is seen as fragmented and, at times, directionless. Part of the film's appeal, undeniably, lies in its nostalgic and historical value. The visuals of Luna Park, with its vintage rides like the Ferris wheel and the boat scene, evoke a lost world of amusement parks, capturing the excitement and aesthetic of the era. These moments contribute significantly to the film's importance as a cultural artifact, and many viewers find that they watch Coney Island primarily for these reasons. The visual spectacle of the rides and the colorful environment provides an almost timeless charm that makes the film worth viewing, especially for those interested in early 20th century American leisure culture. Regarding performances, Arbuckle's comedic style is seen as consistent but limited. A few reviewers note the repetitiveness of his shtick, but still appreciate his moments of humor as part of the film's vintage appeal. Buster Keaton's sporadic presence is appreciated for adding to the entertainment, although his role seems more like a cameo or a fleeting appearance, not integral to the plot. Meanwhile, other characters, such as Arbuckle's wife, are described as less appealing, with some viewers finding their interactions less engaging or even somewhat grating. Overall, Coney Island is recognized as a film that offers more than just its surface humor. Its strengths lie in the preservation of a particular time and place, making it a valuable visual document. The humor, while charming and rooted in slapstick tradition, is often viewed as lacking depth or originality, making the film somewhat underwhelming strictly from a comedic storytelling perspective. Still, for audiences willing to overlook its narrative limitations, the spectacle and nostalgic charm provide sufficient motivation to watch it. The general consensus suggests that Coney Island is more an artifact of its time than a polished comedy, but one with moments of delightful visual and historical interest that continue to resonate with vintage film enthusiasts. Step into the lively world of 1918 silent comedy with Goodnight Nurse, a short that showcases Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle at his comedic peak. In this delightful snippet, Arbuckle's gigantic frame and expressive face steal every scene, delivering belly laughs with his signature slapstick timing. The plot centers around a frantic night at the hospital. Wild antics ensue as Arbuckle's character tries to care for a rowdy patient, leading to a series of hilarious mishaps. What makes this short truly special is Arbuckle's masterful blend of physical comedy and genuine charm, making the absurdity perfectly contagious. His role captures a unique blend of innocence and chaos, and his undeniable charisma keeps viewers hooked from start to finish. Goodnight Nurse isn't just a comedy, it's a window into early 20th century humor. Timeless, fun, and still totally captivating. The film 1918, featuring Roscoe Arbuckle and Buster Keaton, appears to be a representative example of the early silent comedy shorts, but it doesn't quite reach the heights of their more celebrated works. Two prominent reviews shed light on its qualities, juxtaposing its shortcomings against some of its redeeming factors. On one hand, the film is often ranked as the least successful of the 9 Arbuckle-Keaton collaborations recently viewed by a reviewer, primarily citing its comedic weakness and lack of memorable humor. The humor is described as subpar, and the film's overall entertainment value seems limited compared to their better-known shorts. Despite this, there are aspects that still garner some interest, notably the film's musical accompaniment, which is highlighted as appropriate and well-integrated, enhancing the viewing experience amid the silent medium. The narrative structure involves a typical comedic setup. Roscoe, notably inebriated, stumbling through a rainy, windy environment, creating situational humor that is visually amusing yet not particularly innovative or inspired. The sequence with Keaton, dressed in drag, and the chaotic scene with the gypsy girl and the organ grinder offer some light, if uninspired, comic moments. The plot then shifts into a more surreal dream sequence, which incorporates slapstick elements such as feathers flying like a snowstorm, a running gag involving Roscoe sneaking a woman out of an asylum, and a humorous finale where Roscoe, clad in a nurse's uniform, flirts with Keaton before being caught. The climax, featuring Roscoe joining a marathon and winning it unexpectedly, ends in a wake-up realization that it was all just a dream, a common trope in silent comedies that strives for a playful, nonsensical tone. Critically, the review emphasizes that the film's comedic content falls short, lacking the inventive humor or sharp timing that characterize their more acclaimed works. Nonetheless, it retains moments of whimsy and visual gags that may still entertain enthusiasts of silent slapstick, especially those interested in the historical or aesthetic aspects of early cinema. The film's charm lies more in its nostalgic and experimental qualities rather than in its storytelling or comedic brilliance. Overall, 1918 offers a glimpse into the early efforts of Arbuckle and Keaton's partnership, but it may not satisfy those seeking their best or most hilarious moments. Instead, it functions better as an artifact of silent film history, appreciated for its creative visuals and the performances of its casts, despite its shortcomings. The review suggests that viewers interested in seeing the film can find it on YouTube or in various DVD collections, making it accessible for those curious about the complete scope of Arbuckle and Keaton's work. While it may not be a standout piece, it contributes to understanding the evolution of silent comedy, illustrating both the comedic style of the era and the experimentation that filmmakers such as Arbuckle and Keaton engaged in during the late 1910s. Overall, it's a film that may appeal more to enthusiasts or scholars than to casual viewers expecting the comic genius the duo would later perfect in their more celebrated shorts. Step back to 1917 and discover Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle in one of his early comic masterpieces, The Butcher Boy. This short film is a whirlwind of slapstick chaos, capturing Arbuckle's signature comedic genius as he takes on the role of a lovable, bumbling troublemaker in a bustling butcher shop. What makes this short stand out? It's Arbuckle's impeccable timing and exaggerated physical humor that still crackle with energy across a century later. With lively chase scenes, clever gags, and Arbuckle's infectious charm, The Butcher Boy showcases his talent for turning everyday mishaps into hilarious spectacles. This was a time when physical comedy was king, and Arbuckle's role in this short offers a glimpse into the roots of cinematic slapstick that would influence generations. It's a playful, nostalgic romp that reminds us why Arbuckle was a comic force to be reckoned with. Before the headlines and scandals, just pure, unfiltered comedy gold. The reviews regarding the 1917 short film featuring Buster Keaton offer a nuanced picture that balances both its historical context and its entertainment value. On one hand, the film is characterized as a product of early 1910s comedy, filled with slapstick humor, physical gags, and the characteristic chaos, food fights, flour throwing, and comedic misadventures that typifies that era's approach to humor. The first review notes that Buster Keaton, despite making his initial film appearance here, doesn't have a prominent role, instead serving as a guest star invited by Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle, who was a significant figure in early silent comedy. In this portrayal, Keaton's contribution is minor, with the reviewer emphasizing his role as a comic observer more than a co-creator, pointing out scenes like Keaton's humorous mishap involving molasses that illustrates the film's slapstick essence. However, the second review subtly underscores an evolution in Keaton's comedic style, highlighting the progression from these early, somewhat straightforward gags to the more sophisticated, gadget-filled, and intricately timed comedy that Keaton became renowned for later in his career. It suggests that this early work, while modest, set a foundation for Keaton's development into a master of complex visual gags and inventive comedy sequences. The review notes that by the time of their subsequent collaborations, Keaton's creative input and signature style had grown significantly, culminating in more refined and inventive humor, as seen in The Garage. The contrasting perspectives highlight a shared appreciation for the film's place in early cinema history. The first review treats it as a light, somewhat simple piece that primarily functions as an introduction to the era's comedic tropes and the personalities involved, especially Arbuckle's influence. It views Keaton's appearance as peripheral, a stepping stone rather than a showcase of his talent. Conversely, the second perspective recognizes the film's role as a starting point, suggesting that even in these initial years, Keaton's innate comedic instincts and potential shimmer beneath the surface, hinting at the mastery to come. Together, these reviews paint a picture of a film that is both a product of its time, a typical early silent comedy rich in slapstick, and an important stepping stone in Keaton's artistic journey. It probably isn't fair to expect a fully developed Keaton masterpiece here, but rather an introductory glimpse of his potential, set against the broader landscape of 1910s comedy. Despite differing opinions on how much Keaton contributed, both agree that the film holds historical significance and provides entertainment rooted in the physical humor of that period. It also shows how Keaton's comedic style evolved from these modest beginnings into the more inventive, gadget-laden routines that later defined his career. All in all, it stands as an essential piece in understanding the early development of silent comedy, offering viewers insights into the era's aesthetic and comedic conventions while also hinting at the rising star in Keaton. It's a charming, if somewhat simple, glimpse into the formative years of two comedy giants, Fatty Arbuckle and Buster Keaton, whose paths would eventually intersect to produce some of the most memorable moments in silent film.